I think it would be great since we're in the afterglow of the incredible third season of And Just Like That to kind of start there. I think for a lot of the people in the room, it would be really helpful to demystify what happens when you're in the writer's room, on set. What is it exactly that you do?
Oh my God.
Okay.
First of all, I'm sorry. I realized that was a really sad clip.
What's a sad clip?
We went from like comedy to tragedy, and I apologize for that choice.
I approve of your apology.
Thank you.
The writer's room. That's a really fun way to start because in the best of circumstances, it's one of the best parts of the job. When, especially with And Just Like That and Sex and the City, we were extremely lucky enough to work with a small group of writers. I think both rooms had about 7 people in them. And, sorry, I'm getting louder and softer. But it's a daily, it's changing a little bit now over Zoom, but just the general gist is it's a daily meeting. It's a long meeting. It can be extremely fun when you're working with people like Julie and Michael Patrick King in both cases, and Susan Fales Hill and Lucas Froelich and Sam Irby. I mean,
Rachel Palmer.
Like you're sitting around every day for hours at a time, and it's a combination of really structured thinking and, in the best sense of the word, fun brainstorming. What did you do last night? Who's watching what? What did your friend do that you have to tell everybody? What did you see in New York City at a restaurant that has to be in the show? And it can be a really magical collaboration of just ideas that become more and more focused on episode structure as the process starts requiring scripts and deadlines and outlines and all of the harder stuff. But a writer's room is just, I guess, a really small classroom in a way, with hopefully a really great leader, teacher, professor, cocktail party host.
Yes, the best writers' rooms are, as Lisa said, like a great cocktail party where you're just excited to be there. You want to hear everyone's thoughts. You want to share your own thoughts. You want to make other people laugh. You want to be made to laugh. Ideally, you feel safe enough to share your most vulnerable moments. And I think the best television comes from those moments when writers can be honest and vulnerable. We've all cried in the writer's room, like many times. I think, and again, in the case of And Just Like That, we were writer, executive producers with Michael Patrick King as the showrunner. He was also the showrunner on Sex and the City, which we'll get to soon. And he has a very specific way of working, which is it really has to come from an emotional truth. So in the beginning, as Lisa mentioned, it's all fun and games in the beginning. We call it blue sky. Like there's a big blue sky. If you could put anything in the show, what's an idea you've been thinking about? What's something that's been keeping you up at night? What's something you need to get off your chest? And someone will go up and write it on the whiteboard if we're in a real room and not a Zoom room, which still does happen. And so someone will run up and start writing things down, like, cookie, I love you on a cookie.
These are the ideas that go over well in the room. Like
yes.
it's
every idea doesn't
get on the board or in someone's, but you know, there's an alchemy to it. You know, there's people share stories, and the ones that everybody else piles onto, we know there's something
You can tell
there.
there's
Yeah.
heat. And
Yeah.
then sometimes someone will write an idea on the board that secretly I'm like, oh, I hate that. I hope that never
Not so
makes it onto
secretly.
the screen. Right. And then eventually the ones, they all have to withstand the test. Michael often calls it a jury room, and they have to withstand the test of time, of argument, of
drafts.
of
Like,
drafts.
can they hold this? Can you actually sustain and build, you know, 5 scenes from this one little idea? And sometimes really funny ideas take time to actually find the season. Like, I think do people in this room, like, and just like that, was that a show that people watched? I can't tell. So, I'm sure there are people not, but like there was a banana, we did an episode about building link and Charlotte's family giving a banana to a neighbor who wanted a banana. And like, I really think you pitched that first season.
Like
I
years
think
ago.
it was first season, and it wasn't until the 3rd season where we all loved the idea, but it was like, where does that banana go?
Yeah, sometimes things just fall by the wayside. And also after things get more structured, because you can play around and pretend you have all the time in the world in the beginning in the writer's room, and what makes you laugh and what are you excited about and what are the main things we want to happen this season. This Seema is going to find love in this season. There are certain things we knew we wanted to happen, certain things we knew we were building toward with Carrie and Aiden. But then after a few days, weeks of we're going to pretend we have all the time in the world and just brainstorm and play and make each other laugh. Then when you get down to work, then it becomes a much more structural assignment. And then it's like, okay, this episode, we're going to put this Charlotte story with this Seema story, this Carrie story. Oh, this is a Carrie heavy episode. Maybe we could take one of those stories and move it over here. And it's fun. It's a little like math, math with like a gut check, because sometimes they become a little overstuffed, and then we have to take from this episode and give to this episode. But the closer you get to having to write drafts, and again, I don't know if I'm getting too in the weeds, but then you have to get much more deliberate and disciplined about what are the beats of the story? What is every character's arc? I should have mentioned, we talk about every character's season arc. Like, we're starting Charlotte here, we want to get her to here. So if you've already gotten her there by the 3rd episode, we've done something wrong. And we always want to feel like we're building to that final place for all of them. So you're always having to check your own work and check each other's work.
Well, that's interesting, the way that you're laying that out, and I'm curious what the difference was in your creative process with Sex and the City, right? And Just Like That, which is built off of characters with a history, a legacy that everyone knows, that you're held accountable to, and then they now need to evolve into the future. What was the difference there?
Well, I mean, looking back, Sex and the City was over 20 years ago, and it was the beginning of our career, believe it or not. So
we were babies at the time, obviously.
We were infant writers. And so in that experience, it's like the experience was different in some ways, mostly for us in a way, because of where we were
so new.
And then within that 20-year span, we had a chance to run our own show for a little bit of time.
To work on other shows. We were in other writers' rooms. We learned that the way we were raised by Michael is not necessarily the way many writers' rooms run.
Yeah. So when we were on Sex and the City, we were kind of we were just sponges. We were there. Couldn't believe we were there. We were trying to soak up every last, and just trying to hold on and like keep up with what the room was. And I will say, like, writers' rooms, they are hard. Like, even in that room, which was so much fun, and I look back and I'm so nostalgic about the camaraderie in the room and the trust, and we're still very close with all the writers from the show. But it was a trial by fire too. I mean, it was like into the frying pan, and like for me, I found it really challenging because I had been raised to really like think before I speak, and also to be really respectful of other people when they're talking. And it was a very high impact room. So everybody's talking a lot, and a lot of the writers came from sitcom rooms, which have a very brisk pace and a very jokey. So it took me a while to like find my footing in that room and to feel like I would have an idea and I would think, oh, I want to say that. And then like 3 seconds later, it was too late to say that, like the joke was over, and I'd be like, oh, and so it's hard. And then it is a vulnerable thing to throw jokes out or throw stories out that you see people kind of go, huh. And they might be thinking about it, but if it doesn't like catch fire, then you can, it's a confrontational place to be. And it's good to have a lot of therapy, I think, before you do it.
Oh my God, yes. That is really the best advice we can give anyone.
I think I forgot the other question, though.
No, that's fine.
Well, and I will add to that, it also really helps to have a partner. Elisa and I are not totally rare. There are plenty of teams you see in Hollywood, but there are also mostly individual writers. And so to go into that scary room, we were terrified.
Really intimidating.
It was our first job. Like, we'd never done anything in this
television,
business.
yeah.
And so to go in there, and it was incredibly supportive and like great people who, as Lisa said, we're still very close with. But it was also really scary because they all had more experience than we did. They were all really funny and fast. So it did help knowing that Elisa and I had each other. And I knew if I got up the nerve to say something that maybe I was afraid was not going to be popular or was a little risky to say, to at least know that I had Elisa, whether she was across the table or wherever she was in the room, I could feel her good energy and her nodding. And sometimes that helps when you're scared,
Totally. And to debrief at the end of the day and sort of like, it does emotionally, it's extremely helpful.
It's very draining to be in the writer's room all day because it is, and again,
it's
at
intense.
its best case scenario, it's a very intense, electric, exciting environment where you're just bouncing off of each other's ideas, and people are making your ideas better, or you're helping someone else make an idea better. It's the greatest feeling, but it also can be draining and intense and a little like group therapy.
Because there's also a lot of disagreement too, and especially in Michael's rooms, he encourages dissent, and some of the best coffee shop scenes and moments from coffee shops from the original show came out of those debates that we would have in the writers' room about, the clip of "he's just not that into you." I mean, that was a really explosive writers' room day where. I'll never forget it. That was. I know we were supposed to stay on
No,
it just
please,
like that, but
I'm very
sorry.
we want to know. Yeah.
But that was really, really memorable. At the time, we had our writers' room. We began our pre-production writers' room in LA, which was complicated for the New York writers. We would have to go out there for 3 months and
Rent a
kind
sublet.
of like rent a sublet and just, do whatever you needed to be there. And in addition to the regular writers, Michael would bring in what he called guest stars, but they were like twice a week. Greg Barrett, the comedian, would come, and we would have like a straight guy in the room for 3 months, and we would he would tell us things. He would make jokes and react to our stories, and a few other really great consultants. And so one day in the writers' room, somebody in the room was sharing a end of a date story, a date that she thought really went well, and it was just like the show. She really liked this guy, and it was a bummer because he had to work early, work the next morning early, and so he had to cut the date short. And we're all listening. Work hadn't even really started yet. We were just talking about our night. And Greg is just sitting there, and at a certain point, he's like, nah, no, he's just not that into you. And we were all like, what? And we pounced on him, all of us, all the women in the room were like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's not true. And you people have busy lives, and maybe he's scared. And he was just like, no. He was like, there is no dude. I mean, he just said exactly what Berger said, but he was hilarious. And we talked, it was like 2 hours. And we were, somebody was like, what are the exact words that he said? Like, he's just, because we were mangling it at first. We're like, he just doesn't like it. No, he's just not that into you. And anyway, so at the end of that, session, that first 2 hours, we were like, obviously this is a show.
Has to go into the show.
And everybody's, arguments. I mean, that was a case where everybody was yelling at Greg. But very often, we would take really different positions. We had big fights in the episode called Ring a Ding Ding that Amy B. Harris wrote about money, about what should Charlotte offer her engagement ring to Carrie after she could put a down payment on her apartment. And we had
very heated
arguments in the writers' room. Like, no, that's ridiculous. Friends shouldn't expect money from other people. Why not? What's the big deal? Money is money. And every time those heated discussions would come up, Michael would just listen, and he'd be like, that's a Charlotte point of view. Right there, that's what Charlotte would be saying. And that's Miranda's point of view. And in other rooms where we were after that, some of them were so polite that we never had arguments. And it was really distressing to us because we couldn't tell if we were doing, and we couldn't tell if
we were like, how else does a writer's room work?
How do we know if it's working?
Nobody's being honest, and we're probably not doing a really good job. The show is, and to be honest, those shows were not very successful, and we don't really talk about them as much in our credits because they weren't such big hits.
Right.
Because anyway, long way to say.
No, it's good. You're reminding me, Lisa. This is why it helps to have a friend for so many decades. That I think we assumed that's how all shows were written, that it starts with something that actually happened, something from real life, not something you saw in another great movie or just theoretically what could happen. Yeah. Not that we don't also invent things and adorn all these real stories with more interesting, or we embellish all the time. It's fiction, but this idea that everything would come from something real was so basic to us that we had to learn to do it another way in other writers' rooms.
It sounds like, just thinking about the young writers in the crowd here, and just continuing to give some advice as you go. One of them seems to be really creative vulnerability is very important. And so I'm curious if there's something you could say about building that up to be able to really share those parts of your life.
Well, if you want to talk first, you can, Jewel.
I was hoping you would.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just, being brave enough to first steal from yourself, like really, and like both of us we're still in the process of working up the courage to do that in different ways. Like it doesn't go away. So the first step, I think, is identifying things in yourself that are really scary, and that you think maybe someone's going to be mad at you for putting out there. Like that's a really big one. I really wrestle with that a lot. And then after you've like decided that you're brave enough to do that with yourself behind your own notepad or laptop or whatever, however you do it, it's finding your community of people who you really trust, who you really respect, and you know that they're going to be brave enough to be honest with you and give you, thoughtful, helpful notes, and holding on to those people, really cultivating those relationships. I mean, I was watching that great sizzle reel, and it's definitely not who you know, but it's meeting people. It's really looking at everywhere you go in this internships or volunteer jobs or whatever it is, workshops, classes. Pay attention to the people you like and respect the most. Like, keep in touch with those people, build relationships with them, make them your tribe, and they will keep you. That's how you build, I think, a sustaining relationship or a sustaining career in this crazy field filled with nut jobs. Yeah.
That's funny. True. I couldn't agree more. I've been surprised because Elisa and I over the years have done things like this, and occasionally someone will reach out afterwards, and I always say, like, first of all, write. If you're interested in writing, if that's what you want to do, don't ask, how can I get an agent? Don't ask, how can I get a manager? Ask, how can I help myself? And the answer is write. Work on your sample or your one-act play or your spec script or your pilot or your screenplay or your memoir. Whatever it is, keep working on your sample so then you can have a reading of it in someone's living room and invite your friends or have your friends who are actors or even who aren't actors read all the parts, and then go and listen with an open mind and really hear that reading, and then go and make more changes to your script, and then send it to 5 more of your harshest friends, your best critics. Take their notes, listen to what they're saying, revise again, and then send me that script, but don't send it to me until it has been through so many revisions and it is so strong. It's as strong as it can be. You can always make a script stronger. Elisa and I have been working on a screenplay right now. Each time I think, like, this is it. We've revised it so many times. We just got a note on the most recent draft that is so smart and so How did we not do that from the beginning? This is over a year. Is it bedtime?
What does it mean?
Yeah. Someone's.
That was such a nice little lullaby.
Yeah.
Where was I? So basically, do the work Stay in touch. Like, you'd be amazed how many people don't. Like, even people we've met along the way who we've given advice to or given notes to or whatever. Stay in touch. We want to help.
Yeah.
You know, and we want, like, great talent is hard to find. Like, we're always looking for great talent. But also be like a cool, normal person is also
Yes.
like, that helps too.
Yes.
Like, have boundaries, obviously, but it's really that dance of being putting yourself out there and advocating for yourself, but also being respectful. And mindful and cool.
Yes. I'll just put one more punctuation mark on everything you just said, which is that sample that goes through all of your readers and revisions, and you've worked and you've worked and you've really, you feel really as strong. Then do a typo check.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Seriously, guys. And have your most anal copy editor friend read it clean without any, and you forgot a period here, you spelled this wrong. You'd be surprised how quickly someone can stop reading when the first page has
typos,
a typo, a spelling mistake.
It's hard enough to get someone to agree to sit down and read your script. You don't want to give them any reason to stop reading.
Yeah.
You have to have, like, everything going for you. So that sounds so basic, but you'd be amazed how many times, like, page 1, just sloppy.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is you have to show that you care about your own work, right? And also be vulnerable enough to share it, get it vetted, make it as strong as possible, invest in yourself. Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I'm curious about how you found each other and how you got into that first writer's room.
How we found each other?
Yeah.
How much time do you have? Okay, no, it's actually very simple. Elisa and I met when we were 9 in an acting class in Philadelphia, a Saturday morning acting class. Elisa lived in the suburbs, I lived in the city, and we met each other, and we had such an instantaneous meeting of the minds, like no other friend that I had at the time. And we loved talking about everything, and not just about writing, but like who we loved in terms of writers or movies or TV shows or just what we
things
were
we cared about and worried about.
Yeah, it was very primal, I guess. But we didn't go to the same school, so it was sort of like a very special, different kind of friendship. And the dream was to work together one day, and that still feels like a dream.
Yeah. But it took a while for us to figure out how to do it.
Right.
Like, we were, no one really says, like, you guys are now a partnership.
Right.
You have to make all of, the writing you do on your own has to, don't wait for someone to tell you to do it. And that's true for directing. It's true for anything. And it's also true for our partnership. So it was several jobs in. I was working in magazines, which is where I met Max here.
Hi, Max.
And Max Robbins at one of my earliest journalism jobs at TV Guide magazine. And Julie and I were dreaming of things and talking about things. And Julie
I was at DC Comics.
Yeah.
I like started as a temp at DC Comics and then just like kind of fell up the chain weirdly and became a comic book editor, even though what I really wanted to do was write for theater and television. But that was like my day job. It was a great day job. But while Elisa was working in magazines.
And then one weekend we finally decided, or one week we took a vacation week, and we were like, let's actually try and write something together. And we mapped out a romantic comedy, and we spent a week. And Julie really taught me. We're talking about mentors. Julie, among many other writing mentors along the way, Julie was really my screenwriting mentor. She taught me like how scripts actually happen. I had written fiction mostly as a student, and I loved, I had dialogue in a lot of my pieces, but it's not the same as writing a script. So Julie's an excellent teacher, as you can see. And we developed our own recipe for collaboration, which is that we sit side by side and sort of map out the stories we want to tell. We build an outline together of all the scenes that we're going to need. And then when we feel like that's ready and that's a sturdy enough blueprint, we separate and we say, like, you take the first half, I'll take the second half. And we write our first drafts, each one half and half. And we do this on television shows as well. And then we pick a day, a few days in, or depending on how long the piece is, can be weeks in, and we say, like, we're going to switch halves on X day. And what was exciting the first time we tried to do this, we learned happily that our writing style, our voices were pretty similar. We're like, oh, we are writing the same, we're sort of hearing the same music. So that was lucky. So we switch halves with each other at a certain point, and we go over each other's halves. And that's always exciting and scary because you want, like, Julie's my first reader. I hope she loves most of what I did, and I hope she doesn't hate it because we change each other's work too. Right. We have enough trust in each other to, like, oh, I can make that better. And we tend to then switch back, and we disagree about a lot of things, or we have our moments with each other, but it's usually not that. That for us is a pretty smooth part of the process.
That's like the fun part. I mean, then after we swap, and as Elisa said, like that is like, I'm Jewish, but it does feel like Christmas morning, I think, or Christmas morning, as I understand it. It's like, is to know, like, oh, is Elisa is she gonna like or hate that joke or that whole scene, or some scenes I'm like, ugh, please make that better. I couldn't figure that scene out. And then you sort of put your own, like, fingerprints on it a little. And then when you switch it back, that's always fun because it's like, oh, you made that so much better.
Yeah. I knew you were going to fix that.
Or like, why did you lose my favorite joke?
And then we talk about it.
You were going to be upset about that. Or some things, and I'm like, are you mad I changed that? And
like,
they would be like, no, I didn't even think that would last. And then we sit, once we have that draft, then we start sitting side by side. Then we start printing it out and marking it up. And that's really fun when we sit together once we have a hard copy and then we're inputting.
Well, then we read separately. Because this is the whole thing. Like, we read separately, we mark up, then we get back together, and it's almost like, all right, my next thing is on page 8. What do you think about this? And then it's a big negotiation. So you can see our pieces go through a lot of internal revision before, like, on a show, before we hand it into the showrunner. We've probably
we've gone through a
5 or 6 drafts.
Yes, and depending on the schedule, like, often you're really up against a deadline and we have to work really, really fast. And we have been known to, like, get into very serious arguments about punctuation.
This is true.
But we also know if we really are on a deadline, just how it's like, we can't keep fighting over this. Right. Fine, you care more. Right. Generally, whoever cares more, if we're in really arguing, it's like, it's fine. I'm going to save my arguing for something else.
Television, I think, in general, is just a giant collaboration. And if,
true.
you know, ours is internal, but then there's so many compromises you're constantly making. You're taking ideas from other people, you're holding on to your own. You know, it's like, it's a giant collaboration. I'll say like the one of the least successful shows and work experiences we had was for a showrunner who really did not enjoy collaborating, and her background was writing alone, and that was that's not, if you're that person, if you kind of just say like, I know what I like and that's what I want,
don't
my
get into
vision
television.
is singular,
Yeah.
then you probably there are
Maybe
other
before, right, or a
media,
screenwriter, like movies,
Yes.
maybe.
and plays maybe
Plays.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place for you.
Novels,
If you don't like
yeah.
hanging out with other
yeah, no, it's
But
true.
not
But
in
television
television.
is
Yeah, no, it's
teamwork.
It's so true. Also, even, I mean, with the actors, the best actors in the world are going to bring their own stuff to your script, and you might have to make changes because of their.
You will have to
You
make
will
changes.
have to make changes. Right? It's true. It really is. If you're a social person, and I think we both are, it's great. You spend all day talking to like 100 different people. Now I'm jumping more into production. Sorry, the structure.
It's breaking
of this
down, guys.
is-
We're actually we're
I
moving
apologize.
with the
Okay, and we're also running out of time.
So you are going to be interacting with people in so many different departments, and that's one of the best parts of the job, just because you're always learning about a new department. But it also is you have to be good at that. You have to
and you have
want
to enjoy it. I think you have to enjoy it.
It's true.
I think that might be a great place to get some Q&A questions. Yes?
Hi.
Hi.
Well,
Hi.
thank you for being here. My name is Leonardo. I'm from the New School. I'm a producer / screenwriter. And after graduation, I started my own film production company called Latinum. That is our slogan is like universal stories with a Latinx flair. And I'm currently developing a series called Beauty and Meatpacking, about the international models in New York and the hidden mental health struggles behind the fashion world. It's like kind of like a Devil Wears Prada meets Euphoria.
Cool.
And
Brilliant.
when you're developing a series that balances glamour and emotional truth, like Sex and the City and just like that, how do you protect the authenticity of the characters and tone once the production machinery is in place? Fashion partners, network expectations, brand tie-ins, and starts influencing the creative decisions. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's a really
That
good
is an amazing question. I mean, and your timing is perfect about what we were just talking about, collaboration, because you know, on both And Just Like That and Sex and the City, the costume department is they are their own brilliant, just obviously the most incredibly talented people. We had to learn to work together to make sure their incredible instincts and impulses around fashion worked with the stories we were telling. But it's in the end, and hopefully you'll have a chance to run that show because that's a great idea. It's about, the devil really is in the details. It's being on set, making sure every scene you shoot that you're paying attention to everything, every wardrobe choice, the production design choice, the set dressing, making sure everything feels true to you or whoever is the expert who will be your consultant. But it is those details. I mean, you know, when you watch anything on TV, whether it looks real to the world that they're portraying, it's about the details. It's about vigilantly
guarding
protecting that.
And
Giselle.
making sure that if you're in charge, then you have seen the important wardrobe, let's say,
Ahead
the
of time.
costumes ahead of time.
So true.
And you can find costume designers, interview a lot and really go with the best person who has experience and seems to really share your vision and really understand your vision. Not necessarily the fanciest person with the best credits. And to be honest with them, when you don't like, it's important just to speak up and say this is wrong. Fix it before the day, because once you're on set, things get really complicated to change.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good answer.
Thank you. Should we come over?
Alternate or-
Is it come over here for the next?
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Elise.
Hi, Elise.
Hi. I recently graduated from NYU in May, and I'm looking
Congrats.
for a job in media. So I was wondering, can you guys both go into a little bit more detail on how you landed your first major TV role in Sex and the City 20 plus years ago, which is amazing.
Gosh.
I know you mentioned networking and things like that, but can you talk about the process of getting that first writing job and what it was like? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's like, do we do the Studios USA or da-da-da? This is not as simple as it sounds, and I'm aware we have a clock. I guess the most important was really,
It's about, so I'm just trying to, because we went through different phases, and we were sort of writing on the side together. We had some very lucky twists, I will say, and so will you guys. You have to be prepared with your materials, and but yes.
but if I may,
Sure, please.
what I'm realizing,
It's not that we're making it sound a lot more
it's
nefarious.
It's a longer story. This is why we've been working on the screenplay for 20 years of our partnership. Literally, it's hard. But what you just said about luck, it's true. We did have some luck, but we also had to make our own luck. So, for example, as Elisa said, we were not officially working together as a team. She had a day job, I had a day job. Next thing we know, short story is we're both in LA. Elisa was doing children's
Kids' Choice.
Kids'
I was
Choice Awards. She was
covering
as
it for Nickelodeon
as
magazine.
a reporter. I was just tagging along for the ride. I had already been connected to an agent who someone else had liked my stuff enough to submit to him. And he had set up a meeting for me with an executive. I'd never been on a real meeting like that in Hollywood.
And this, by the way, this is called hip pocketing. I don't know if you've heard of that. Julie had been searching for an agent for a while and
years,
and not getting, and then this agent was sort of I love her stuff. Yeah, I'll work with you. I'll see if I can get you some meetings. And she didn't say I have an agent. It happened. It was just this agent is
and I didn't
sending
even
me
know
on
if he
things.
was real. I assumed he wasn't real if he was interested in me. But anyway, so finally someone else gave very good advice that I had never been to LA because I was like, I'm going to live in New York always. And she said, guess what, kid? Get out to LA. Get a feel for the culture. You might not want to live there, but you have to understand it. That is the heart of Hollywood, whether we like it or not. And believe me, we've made a living here in New York amazingly all this time. But you have to do diligence. You have to go out there and meet people and understand how it works. So I took that good advice. I went out there tag teaming with Elisa on her trip and went for this meeting with this executive, and she said, well, I like your stuff, but do you have any original ideas for an original show? And in that moment, I decided I'm going to do it. And I said, yes, but I would have to come back with my writing partner. And until then, we were not a team officially. And I don't know what came over me, but in that moment, I just decided I'm going to do it. And I called Elisa afterwards and I was like, oh my God, we have to come up with show ideas. Literally, we spent the weekend we didn't know how it worked. We came back to New York and we put together some show ideas. And my agent, my vaguely not official agent was like, what the hell is this? You have a writing partner? Where did this come from? So in a way, yes, it was luck because I got that meeting, but I also took that crazy leap and said something and it became true.
And Julie, I'll just say also, like, Julie had gone from writing plays and doing the readings that she was mentioning, and they were really they were really successful and fun, and fun events that were not fancy, but they were they were good times. No, but it was very smart, and that led to getting work on like
That's true.
Nickelodeon animation. Doing some little gigs for cartoons.
You're right.
And then that was how the agent
exactly.
Eventually said to his friend at Nickelodeon, hey, do you have any new talent? So it's like putting yourself in situations where you can be quote unquote discovered.
Right.
Someone can find you, but you have the material to show for yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Sorry, that was just super long.
No, very helpful. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise on this panel. My name is Rashida Ashley. I'm also a recent graduate of from NYU. I studied creative writing in Paris for their program, and I just finished
Amazing.
Thank you. I just finished my novel as of this Tuesday.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's huge.
But
That's huge.
I really resonated with your discussion about the reading room. Like, I've never been in that reading room, but the program it's kind of similar. My question, the novel that I'm working on is fantasy, and it blends Nigerian mythology with fantasy, and it's kind of reminiscent of like Children of Blood and Bone, the novel.
Okay.
So my question is, during your talk, you talked about the screenwriting and how having a reading is necessary. And me, coming from my background, I'm a very solitary creature. So I was, I can be extroverted if the situation calls for it. But I was just kind of curious of your perspective of making a reading as far as in the lens of a novel, in that development, how can it be a collaborative effort besides after publication when it's already out, like during that process, like kind of like, can it like in the reading in the same vein as the screenwriting?
That's a great question. And Elisa has the answer.
Julie's saying that because I am now dipping my toe back into fiction as well. So I've been playing in that pond for the first time in many years. So I'm very impressed and thrilled for you. But I do need, I would love for you to unpack your question for me just a little more.
Yes. So like you had talked about like when you're developing a script, you have a reading with other people.
Yes.
And I kind of
that
collaborative thing, and I was kind of thinking about it.
Yes, I will share that. So that is similar in that obviously not readings out loud, but when I finished my first draft of a novel, when I felt ready enough, I thought of like my 4 like smartest. Well, I thought of like different readers for different things. Like who's my friend who reads voraciously and like I want her to love this book. And then who's my friend who works in a related field and is reading a lot for her job. You know, like, so I chose different readers for different sensibilities and asked them to be super honest with me about what worked, what didn't, where they got bored. And yeah, I mean, I'm continuing in that process too. So
I think it is about, and maybe in your case, I don't know how long the novel is, so maybe it's like the first 100 pages, or but to get it to exactly
your
what
target
Elisa's talking
readers.
about.
Yeah, I mean,
Get some cold reads from people you trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I have one more question?
Actually, we should just do one. I actually was just going to say, in order to try and get through even the people who are standing.
We're the worst.
No, the best. We should just try and keep your questions just short, and then maybe
Answers.
one of you will answer
Not
per
two. Yeah.
each one, and
We can do
see
that.
if we can
Totally.
see if we can distribute the
Note
knowledge.
taken,
Okay.
Giselle.
Just to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Valentina, and I went to Columbia, and I'm a writer and culture journalist. I'm working on my second book right now, which is a novel as well. It's literary fiction, and it's inspired by Sex and the City in a way, I would say.
Okay.
And what I struggle with is definitely dialogue. So since you guys are screenwriters, I think that's obviously your forte. You've said, or you've talked about how real life inspires it, but I just think with like both shows, what makes it so, like the dialogue so great is the way it's like both snappy, iconic, like all of these one-liners that just like really are hard-hitting, but still realistic. And I feel like with my dialogue, I often struggle with it being, well, those things, I guess, snappy and realistic. And just how do you come up with that? Like, what are the criteria for good dialogue in terms of obviously screenwriting, but I think it translates quite well to fiction, or the kind of fiction that I'm writing.
Okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to try and be really concise. Especially if you live in New York, the world is the best place to learn. Listen on the subway, in a coffee shop, walking down the street. Always be listening. I will write down things I overhear all the time. At a dinner with your friends, when you're talking to your parents, listen. Really pay attention to the way people talk, how much we interrupt each other, actually. And then use that, but then you're allowed to invent. You're allowed to heighten, but really just take a transcript of, walk around with your phone and record. You'd be amazed how much you'll learn if you just listen to the way people speak. Thank you. Good luck with the book.
Okay. Your question?
Hi. Oh, God. Hi, my name is Amar Opan, and I'm a freshman at Pace University, Digital Cinema and Filmmaking. And I was just wondering, what's one thing you would change or do over if you had a chance to restart your career?
Wow.
Ooh, you have an answer for that.
I do, but I don't want to.
No, that's okay, because I would
to
need
go.
time to think about that. You
Okay,
go.
I'm going to do it real quick. Guess what? When I was little, growing up with Elisa, I loved directing. I directed plays. Elisa was even in a play, at least one. As soon as I started working in this medium, I was too scared to direct. And I decided that's something other people do. That's something men do. I'm too scared. It's too technical. I can't do that. I'm a writer now. That's all I'll do. It took me 25 years. And Elisa's support to raise my hand and say, I want to direct. And last season I started, for the first time on And Just Like That, seasons 2 and 3, I started directing.
But
and
she
I
was
direct-
ready so much earlier.
Amazing.
Thank you. No, the point is, why did I wait 25 years? I was just scared. And so that's my biggest regret, is like, if something scares you, learn how to do it, give it a try. If worst comes to worst, you fail, and then you know what you didn't enjoy doing. But give it a try.
Incredible advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're getting the next two.
Good evening, ladies. I'm Kai Crawford. I'm an independent filmmaker. I've worked on tons and tons of episodic shows, and I see that writers is never a dull moment for you guys. mainly when it comes to high-profile actors, I've seen actors just stop the scene and say, "I'm not doing that," or "I'm not saying that," and then production shuts down for like 2 hours or so, and the writers have to rewrite a scene. How often does that happen to you guys?
Wow.
And is it frustrating, or how do you
I
expect
can
it?
take that.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've really never had
Never had
anything
that.
that extreme. We've had like more, I guess the kids would say, low key versions of that. Yeah, I mean it doesn't happen very often. I won't name names, but once in a while there's
Something.
usually a man who just in my case, I mean we've worked with a lot of not great women too, but like they're in the cases that I'm coming up with in my mind, they happen to be men who threw some sort of a hissy fit right before something that was planned out, and it's annoying. And you have to, I mean, you have to figure out how to diplomatically stand your ground and,
And also hear them. Usually it comes from fear. That's like the
yeah, that's true.
sad but truth is usually if someone doesn't want to do something, it's something they're afraid of. Sometimes they're right, but sorry, I
Well,
broke the
I'll
rule.
drop the names. It was Al Pacino and Tracy Morgan.
Wow. Wait, who was the second one?
Al Pacino and Tracy
And
Morgan.
Tracy Morgan. That I've seen it happen. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry for you.
Thank you.
They're great.
Okay.
Hi, ladies. I'm Viviana. I'm a junior communication and media studies major at Pace University, and I also have a background in theater. I also love your contrasting color palettes. You guys really are best friends. I was curious to know, as sort of jacks of all trades, what do you guys think writers should learn from producers and vice versa?
These are really hard questions, you guys. You're getting this one.
Well,
Thank
okay,
God.
I would say first of all, in TV, it's a little murky because writers are often producers. But I'm thinking about like the true producers, the physical producers, the line producers, and I'll share that on the show that Julie and I ran, which was a little scripted show on Bravo called Odd Mom Out. We ran it for 2 seasons. That's so nice. But the great thing, that was like graduate school for us because that was the first time we were actually creatively in charge. And we worked the closest with our line producers, and that whole like wing of production really opened up to us. And we had to actually learn how to collaborate directly with that department. And what the best thing we learned from that experience collaborating with the producers was how much more fun and thrilling it is to work on a small budget production than it can be to work on a very large, lavish show. We got I loved, like, it was a really fun process to like get a script back, after a table read, and then meet with the production team and learn all of the things we couldn't afford to do. I found that really fun because then you would problem solve and come up with like really creative solutions. Oh, we'll just move that to a park bench instead of being in a restaurant. Like, oh, we have to lose 5 speaking roles. Okay. But it was fun. And I think it kind of helped the product. Like, I think your work gets stronger when you have less to play around with. Like, it just forces you to be more disciplined. So that's my answer. I hope you liked it.
Thank you. That was great. I'm not at it.
I liked it very much.
I hope you like it.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. My name is Shauna Swain. I am a student at the Fashion Institute of Technology. majoring in advertising and marketing communications, creative technology, and film. All of my questions got asked for the most part, so I'm going to pivot a bit. And thank you for speaking to the power of the pivot. I am doing a research project on the power of the pivot and women in leadership in New York City, so maybe reaching out. But I come from background in doing makeup for film and television, and I'm looking to transition into production. And so I'm wondering if there have been any instances of where you are set in your writer mode and this is the story that you want to tell, and then production kind of like, hey, you kind of spoke to it a little bit, but I wonder if there's anything additional you can add to the writers in the room and the producers, how we collaborate and bring the story to fold that we don't know about.
Separate from makeup
Yes.
artist?
The makeup
It's
story
over
is
there.
done.
Okay.
It's in the past.
So,
So-
are you interested? Because you were actually where you started was also interesting. The idea
Okay.
of the pivot and that
Well,
you
go
want
with
to.
it.
You were just talking about going from writing to directing and
Yes.
the process of kind of. Let's
So
say
I can tell you,
lateral
the
moves.
original question was, what's something about the handoff between writing and production that people outside the industry might not realize? But
Oh, okay.
if you want to go with the pivot,
Oh no,
I'll
that's
take it.
interesting.
Writing to production.
So maybe the transformation
happy to
between
take
what's
that.
on the
I'm not doing
page.
it. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna go with that one. There were so many good
So many
questions
good
in there.
questions, yeah.
So little time. The reality of the space. I mean, Elisa and I are now working on a show for Amazon that's shooting in Vancouver. So we're at home writing our little scripts, and then we hear from Amy, the showrunner, who's like, "Hi, guess what? That whole scene that you shot on the out on the
You
lawn,
wrote, yeah.
that you wrote, sorry, the whole scene you wrote on the lawn, we have to do in this little foyer, and that's going to change everything." So we're like, I had it exactly in my head. I really wanted it out here with people moving stuff to the truck. So then we rewrite it. Then we find out, we had to move the shoot day because it rained. Now suddenly we're shooting in this different space. We need that scene for this totally different space. Oh, and now we're back outside. We do want it outside. So just the reality of the physical space. Also, guess what? That actress that we thought was blonde is now sunburned and a redhead, and we have to make a change for that. So it's just, which as Elisa said, that can be fun. All of a sudden you have a gun to your head and you have to make serious changes. But it's really just about the abstract, the picture you have in your mind as a writer becoming the reality. And also we have to shoot 6 pages in 4 hours. How are we going to do that?
Right.
You're going to have to block it in a very basic way. It's that.
It's athletic.
Getting really like not precious about your words or the way you envision something, and I'm not always good at that. But saying goodbye to that beautiful like idea I had in my head and of what they can shoot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna take one last question.
Hi, I'm Tania McClary. I'm currently getting my master's in nonprofit management at Columbia, but my bachelor's is in journalism and mass communications. And my question for the both of you, or either of you, is what do you feel is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about screenwriting as they're breaking into the industry?
Oh,
You're so taking this.
I would think I had the misconception for a long time. Like it took me a long time to break my own misconception, which was that I think the misconception that I had was it's really hard to break in, but once you're in, you're in. Like it's not hard anymore. And sadly, that isn't the case. It continues to be a hustle. It continues to be hard. at times. It continues to be disappointing, and I hate to be a downer because I really love what I do. I love what we do. But I do think that the illusion, there is an illusion, the whole industry is based on illusions, right? There's an illusion that like, there's this magical place out there where everything that you want to make happens and everything's easy and people just make it easy for you because you're so wonderful. But it doesn't happen that way, and you continue to keep having to prove yourself, and you continue, everyone we know all of our closest friends in the business who we've really held on to, we get together a lot and we mostly talk about our heartbreaks, and you just have to keep going. That's the thing. If you love this field, if this is what you want to do, then you have to be the kind of person who gets metaphorically punched in the face, and then the next, 2 days later says like, okay, now what's our next thing? And if you have that temperament, then it's a really rewarding career. And if you don't, then you'll know it pretty soon, because you'll just be like fed up, and you'll just decide like, I need stability. I need health insurance. I need reliable job. I need a reliable paycheck. I need to know that these 2 weeks of the year I'm going on vacation, so I'm sorry. I do think that I don't want to end on a downer.
No,
it is,
yeah.
The highs are high. It is a little feast or famine. Like we were on top of the world, and then we had like a decade in development where we were just writing things that never got made, and then we were back up, and then we were back down again, pitching things. Right. It's like, and it's very humbling, because you can think you've made it, as Elisa said, and we're lucky enough we have been able to make good careers and live in New York and raise kids. But it's really hard. It never stops being hard. That's why you have to love it. You have to love it so much. And you also have to find your people, as Elisa said, and just keep bucking each other up and keep getting up again and dusting yourself off, and finding ways to keep laughing at yourself and how ridiculous the industry is.
So resilience, self-belief, collaborators, humor,
trust.
Okay. All right. Thank you both so much. I think we have fantastic questions. I think we have some closing remarks.
Yeah, so everyone give it up for our amazing moderator and our amazing speakers tonight.
Not by you. Thanks.
All right, we hope you guys enjoyed tonight. Just a reminder, we'll be back here in 2 weeks on Tuesday, October 21st for our sports media panel. And just one more thing, I just want to be funny. He's just not that into you. Okay, thank you.